Modern automotive engineering pushes hardware to its absolute limits. Systems like thermal runaway controls and battery management and AISLD powertrains handle massive physical forces in fractions of a second. But there is a severe disconnect between rigorous physical engineering and the administrative reality of how safety logic is evaluated. In many organizations, functional safety activities are reduced to rushed post-development paperwork. Driven by strict time-to-market pressures, development teams prioritize code implementation and hardware integration. Safety audits are relegated to the end of the line, treated as a final hurdle rather than an ongoing architectural necessity. The central point of failure here is how organizations handle the ISO26262 confirmation review. Senior developers frequently conflate the confirmation review with verification and validation, or V&V. Because both involve checking work, engineers mistakenly assume the confirmation review is simply a redundant round of testing. V&V is a highly product-focused engineering activity. Its entire purpose is to prove that the system was built correctly and that it fulfills its intended purpose. The confirmation review is not an engineering test. It is a strict procedural evaluation. Its purpose is to prove the development team has legally and technically sound evidence to claim the system is safe. To understand how to execute this correctly, we have to deconstruct the meta-verification paradigm established by ISO26262, and then we will examine 3 structural solutions for resource-constrained teams. Failing to separate the engineering reality of V&V from the procedural mandate of the confirmation review leaves organizations structurally blind to catastrophic vulnerabilities. We can separate these two activities by assigning them roles. Verification and validation acts as the forensics unit. Its job is strictly technical defect detection, utilizing tools like MCDC code coverage and failure mode analysis. Verification asks a highly specific question: did we build the system according to the design specifications? Validation follows up with another direct question: does the fully integrated system actually fulfill its intended safety purpose in the real world? The confirmation review acts as the judge. It executes meta-verification on the documents produced by the forensics team. The judge does not check if the automated emergency braking software executes in 10 milliseconds. The judge evaluates whether the evidence of that 10-millisecond execution was gathered using an unmanipulated ASIL-Compliant process. The required independence levels reflect these distinct roles. V&V is often performed by peers sitting next to each other within the same team. The confirmation review demands strict organizational separation between the creator and the reviewer. Perfect forensic engineering is entirely useless if the overarching judge rules that the collected evidence is procedurally inadmissible or logically flawed. ISO26262 mandates structural independence for reviewers, scaling from I0 up to the strictest level, I3. At I3, the reviewer must have complete separation of management, budget, and release authority from the development team. This independence requirement serves as a calculated engineering mechanism to filter out 2 specific threats that occur in complex system design. The first threat is the normalization of deviance. When teams operate under intense timeline pressure, minor technical compromises slowly become accepted as standard practice. Consider an I1 reviewer who reports to the same manager as the development team. If they find a critical flaw a month before the start of production, they face immense psychological pressure to downplay the issue to avoid delaying the launch and impacting team bonuses. I3 independence severs this psychological pressure by physically removing the reviewer from the project's financial and managerial consequences. Their only incentive is to ensure the system is objectively safe. The second threat involves architectural blind spots and dependent failures. Take this ASIL-D steering system architecture. The development team has split the logic across a main and auxiliary MCU, assuming perfect ASIL-D decomposition. Both the main and auxiliary chips, however, trace back to a single shared power management IC and external clock oscillator. Embedded development teams spend months focused strictly on their specific software modules or hardware logic. In that highly focused state, they routinely miss underlying infrastructural overlap. An independent I3 reviewer enters the process without that confirmation bias. Their macroscopic view instantly identifies the shared hardware dependency. The physical consequence of this overlap is severe. A single voltage spike triggers a common cause failure, instantly crashing both redundant systems. Strict I3 independence is the only reliable mathematical and psychological defense capable of detecting and preventing these cascading architectural failures. Despite the necessity of I3 reviews, the industry relies on a flawed execution model. Companies frequently assign technically unqualified QA staff as I3 reviewers at the very end of a waterfall development cycle, simply to check a compliance box. Finding a structural defect when hardware is already printed and code is locked results in astronomical rework costs. The first solution is Agile shift-left reviews. Teams must conduct confirmation reviews on the functional safety concept during the earliest architectural phases, breaking the audit down into sprint-aligned iterative checks. For resource-constrained organizations, ISO26262-2 provides a specific tactical advantage. Section 6.4.10.5 allows organizations to merge verification reviews and confirmation reviews if the independence requirement is met. This effectively halves the administrative overhead. To execute these early reviews efficiently, teams need to change the tools they use. The standard tool across the industry is the binary yes-no checklist. Complex safety logic and residual risk cannot be distilled into a single checkmark. Forcing a binary answer on a nuanced engineering problem forces engineers to manipulate data to get a passing grade. The second solution, Rationale-Based ALM dashboards. Instead of a simple checklist, the system demands an engineering argument. If coverage hits 98.5%, the engineer inputs a structural rationale, like memory hardware fallbacks, and attaches the exact fault injection report proving it works. Using tools like Doors or Jira establishes bidirectional traceability. This directly links the specific engineering rationale to the final safety case, ensuring no critical context is lost in the margins of a spreadsheet. Shifting from static checkboxes to tracked, rationale-based arguments transforms a bureaucratic hurdle into an active, transparent engineering debate. The final organizational hurdle is satisfying the strict ASIL-C and D independence requirements when a company has a severely limited pool of highly qualified systems architects. Organizations traditionally solve this by paying exorbitant fees for third-party external auditors. This approach delays releases and completely fails to build any internal safety culture. The third solution is building a cross-functional matrix to achieve virtual independence. Instead of hiring outside, a senior powertrain engineer audits EVE architecture of the battery management system team. This perfectly satisfies ISO 26262. The powertrain engineer operates under completely separate management, budget, and release authority from the BMS team. This approach provides superior technical critique. Unlike external QA auditors, cross-domain engineers share deep context regarding real-time operating systems and AUTOSAR constraints. They know exactly where the technical weaknesses are hidden. Virtual independence achieves rigorous, auditor-proof compliance while keeping vital engineering intelligence inside the organization. In complex embedded systems, accidental safety does not exist. Systems only survive extreme conditions because they were designed and verified with absolute structural integrity. The confirmation review is the ultimate independent architectural defense line against cascading system failures. Engineering teams must stop treating safety as a post-launch checklist. By utilizing strict structural independence and rationale-driven logic, organizations can build a truly unbreakable safety culture.